Before you watch this video, I challenge you to ask yourself one question. Who are you? Because I'm gonna tell you something about life. You are what you attract. A lot of guys constantly seek solutions to their problems because they're blaming everything around them. They're blaming the government, they're blaming women, they're blaming their family, they're blaming their friends, and they refuse to do one thing: point that mirror of their life back on themselves. Because I guarantee you, if you're struggling in a different area of your life, whether it be financially, physically, romantically, socially, it has to do with you. And it's much harder to see what you're doing wrong than blaming everybody else. But I'm gonna let you know something. When you do that, that allows you to get on the path to improve it. So in today's video, we're gonna go after the common phrase that one of my mentors, King Dre, told me, that honey attracts bees and shit attracts flies. So we're gonna get into it, we're gonna break it down, and I'm gonna give you guys the steps on how you can improve your life by following this. But before we do, make sure you guys like the video, comment down below your thoughts if you agree or disagree, and if you're new, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. So first things first, what is the concept of honey attracts bees, shit attracts flies? It's actually very simple. It's very straightforward. The quality of man that you are oftentimes is a reflection on the quality of your life. Now, no, it's not 100% absolute. Sometimes you can be a great person and go through hard times. Sometimes you can do everything by the book and still fall on hard times. And sometimes you can be a virtuous person who has good morals and people can fuck you over. That's just a part of life. But what you need to understand is generally based on life principles, based on how the Most High created the world, the things that happen to you are a reflection on the choices that you make in your life. And you need to understand something about the human psychology. We oftentimes like to play the victim. We oftentimes like to play the blame game. Like this is a Kanye West album from the 2010s. And we feel like everybody else owes us something and that life owes us something. And that if we ain't got the life that we live, it's other people's fault. A lot of you guys have the mindset of women. You know, people on TikTok and Instagram always be bashing women like, man, women and accountability. Women are allergic to accountability. Or a lot of you guys act like women because you refuse to take accountability for the life that you live. You want to know the reason why? Because that's the easy route. And most men aren't built for the hard route, to be able to look themselves in the mirror and look and stand in their failures, stand in their setbacks and realize, maybe I made a wrong step. Maybe I fell short and I need to go back to the drawing board and see what I need to do and how I need to improve. That way I can improve whatever situation that I'm in. And you want to know something about the guy who blames everybody else but never blames himself? He is a weak man and he's going to get chewed up by this world and spat out. But if you want to have the true mindset of a king, you must learn to take accountability and self-responsibility for the decisions that you make in your life. And also understand this: once you finally realize that you need to change, you must abide by the Most High's principle. Whatever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. Yes, you have to work on yourself. Because to tell you the truth, if you think you haven't been working on yourself throughout life, you actually have. From the day you were born. Everybody, I'm talking about your grandmama, I'm talking about your auntie, I'm talking about your boss, your coworker, even your dog. He works on himself daily. But some people do not work on themselves positively. Most people work on themselves negatively. You're either building good habits or bad habits. You're either creating a positive mindset or a defeated, weak mindset. You're either bringing out positive energy or you're bringing out negative energy. But regardless, you're going to be working on your life circumstances and you're going to be working on yourself. You just need to make the choice if you're going to start to work on yourself in a positive aspect or if you're going to continue to be on a destructive path and be on watching my videos 3-5 years down the line, complaining and moaning and groaning and crying and feeling defeated in life. So the first thing that you need to do is look at your life. Look at your life in these different areas. Look at your finances. How are you doing financially? Look at your relationship life. How are you doing relationship-wise? What type of women are you entertaining? What type of women do you go for? Look at your health. How is your body? How is your diet? How do you feel when you look yourself in the mirror? Another thing, evaluate the friends around you. And also, bro, I want you to do something. Ask yourself another question. I'm going to give you another question to ask yourself. What type of wisdom and understanding do I have about life? Do I know what's going on around me? Or am I in la la land and focus on playing 2K24, bro, and looking at Instagram thotties? And most importantly, what you need to ask yourself is, how am I doing spiritually? What type of spiritual connection with the Most High do I have? Do I understand the word on a spiritual level, or do I understand it on a lower level? That's actually pretty deep for this video, but you should ask yourself that question. I actually want you guys to pause the video right now and look and evaluate yourself, and come back once you guys get an autopsy on what's going on. All right, so now that you guys are done, what do you see? You can see the picture that I'm painting in front of you. You're looking at your life and you're understanding, wow, I got shortcomings here, I got shortcomings there. And now you're probably asking yourself, how did I get to this point? What caused me to get to this train of thought that I wasn't able to get out on my own? Well, it started off with you lacking knowledge, because as young men, if you do not have a strong father who is masculine and who most importantly has things to teach you, meaning wisdom and knowledge and experience in life, he probably didn't know what to tell you. Or you might have been in a position where you didn't even have a father growing up, and you were left without a light in the dark, searching, looking to the left, looking to the right, hoping that somebody could give you a voice of how you need to move in this society. And what probably happened, and what typically happens with a lot of young misguided men, is that they go where the environment takes them. Especially people of my demographic. Y'all know what it is. A lot of my brothers and sisters living in the hoods, downtrodden. But this is something more than just my people. This is going on throughout society. And you need to understand that the environment that you are defaulted to go into, 9 times out of 10 is not a good environment for you. And if you guys watch my video on why an environment is so important, it's because if you are in a defiled environment, if you are in corrupted, toxic soil, nothing will grow, and you will never grow as a man, being that you are in that bad environment. And that's why a lot of you guys have that woe is me victim mentality, because you was likely born in it and you didn't even realize it. Or you probably had a good family structure, but what happened when you went to school, when you went to these programming centers that they called the United States educational school system? Typically what happens is you might have been chasing clout. You might have been trying to fit in. And normally when the bigger the crowd, the stupider the crowd is. So oftentimes when you're young and you are impressionable, you would go into places that seem cool. But oftentimes you're around people who did not have anything to teach you, did not have your best interests at heart, and you started to create habits, bad habits, that carried over to you throughout your life when you became an adult or a young adult. Or some of you guys would have been on the opposite side of the spectrum, where because you weren't a part of the cool crowd, you had to find ways to cope. You locked yourself in a room and beat off for 12 hours a day. That's what I used to do. You might have been playing Call of Duty for 5 hours, stuck doing all-nighters with your homeboys, but you didn't develop any social skills. You might have been somebody who wanted to splurge the money that your parents gave you, and as you grew up, you didn't know how to manage your money. There's so many different ways and things that can happen when you're just going for that validation, or because you don't get that validation, you have to find different ways to cope with the shitty reality that you're living. But that's essentially why you're here right now. And you want to know what happens to a young man in this position? He thinks that's life. He thinks that living paycheck to paycheck is life. He thinks working a minimum wage paying job is life. He thinks being a slave in the corporate system is life. He thinks that whichever woman comes and gives him a little piece of ass, that's the best that he can do, because he didn't even know what he could explore in this world, because he had a limited mindset and he was programmed from a young age to view life a certain way, and he never went out of the box. And then what happened? He developed the enemy of growth, which was being comfortable. And he never wanted to branch out of that comfortable feeling into the scary unknown of being uncomfortable in life. Like, I gotta change my diet. I gotta apply for another job. I gotta talk to a woman who's beautiful and I don't know what to say because I'm nervous. Yes, motherfucker, that's the part of being outside of your comfort zone. You gotta go through it, because if not, you're gonna become this man. Typically what happens is you start to notice you need to make a change, and you go out there and you see that woman and woo, she fine, she looking great. But you wanna know what happens? That pit in your stomach comes and you divert. Abort left, abort mission, let me quit real quick, like this is Call of Duty. And you're like, nah, I can't do it. And then you know, you're like, yeah, I'm good. You wait another 6 months to a year, and then you come back out, you're like, nah, man, I can't do this, man. Life is not supposed to be like that. And you see another pretty woman eyeing you, and you're like, should I do it? No, let me be a weenie. And you go back to living. And what you start to realize is that for you to get to where you want to go, to be the man who you want to be, it takes doing things that you may not like, that you may be afraid of, that feels like shit in the moment, that you need to stick through. And quite frankly, most men, once they get to this point, they stop. A lot of guys know what's out there. And a lot of guys know what they can do in their life. You think these guys who's living paycheck to paycheck haven't had opportunities to make money, haven't had opportunities to roll the dice on their life and try something new? They knew this. But you know what they chose to do? They chose to stay in their comfort zone because that's the life that they were comfortable with. And they were not built to elevate themselves to another area because it took some grind, it took some hard work, and it took mental toughness and fortitude. That's why I preach to you guys why you need to change your mindset, because your mindset is key. What you tell yourself up here manifests itself down here. And essentially what happens is you start to shape the things over here, and your environment starts to change, and your lifestyle starts to become brand new, and you start to realize, wow, I'm a different guy. But if you just sit back and you too afraid and you don't got it in you, then hey, just admit to yourself that you don't got it. But if you know deep down that you were meant to live the lifestyle of a king, and you know that there's greatness within you, you got to take that leap of faith. You got to bet on yourself, and you got to go out there and you got to set a goal and stick with it. Otherwise, you're going to go back to the same dude that you've been your entire life. And that's the reason why so many men, when they're 60, when they're 55, or, God forbid, they on their deathbed and they looking back, reflecting their life. Another guy who I learned a lot from, he said that typically when you die, what happens is that your mind and the memory banks of your memories and all the things and experience you had, they flash before your eyes right before you die, right? And you want to know what happens with a lot of guys? They look at all the experiences in their life and they realize, wow, I literally wasted it. I've been on here just taking up space. That NPC syndrome. And I don't want you guys to catch the NPC syndrome because it's very hard to get rid of it. And it's one of the worst feelings that you can have, my guy. And if you don't break this cycle, it could last for weeks. It could last for months. It could last for years. Shit, it could even last for decades. If you look yourself in the mirror and you think, wow, my life is horrible. My life is terrible. My life is not where I wanted to be. I'm going through a lot of stuff and I haven't been able to change it. You need to change yourself, because otherwise you're going to stay in the same place for the rest of your life. So I know this is a short video, but it's extremely powerful. And I'm going to do a part 2 to this video where I give you guys the 6 steps to change your life starting today. It's going to come up in a couple days, so make sure you guys stay tuned. But if you enjoyed this one, hit that like button. Also, comment down below if you were a dude and you were dealing with this mindset and you kept going back into that cycle and you weren't able to reflect on yourself. For guys who are dealing with the same situation, give them advice in the comment section on how they can change their situation. And also, man, if you're new, make sure y'all subscribe. I'll catch you on the next video, man. Peace.